Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the barriers to the government's plans to ease the Brexit lorry driver shortage, including but not limited to the threat of strike action for HGV driving test examiners. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So we have a bit of an HGV shortage in Britain here, quite a severe one. Actually, you may have heard me mention it once or twice before. The situation is so bad that even the government have to accept that it exists. Never mind that they were warned about exactly this scenario 5 years ago. The problem with these Brexiteers is they won't accept the consequences of their policies until they have become reality. Even when they become reality, if they think not enough people know about it, they still deny it. So by the time they have to feel that they need to do something, it's already very, very late, and therefore what you need to do has to have overnight success, but if it can't, you end up in a mess. Like, if they'd accepted these consequences when they were inevitable, but still for the future, they may have been able to do something. They'd certainly have had more time to think about it properly. But given that their plans for dealing with it now, not exactly filling the industry with confidence, I mean, maybe we'd still have ended up where we are now. There was an article in the East Anglia Bylines which suggests that despite the government's plans to deal with this, such as they are, which I'll go over, they seem to be in a state of blind panic. They are reported, someone in government is reported to have said that the Director of Public Affairs in the Road Haulage Association, Rod Mackenzie, was responsible for the problems. He was the guy who was warning about it for years. But apparently he's responsible and they're going to deal with him later. People in control of a situation do not need to make threats of spiteful malice. But the Tory papers keep telling us that Boris Johnson has it under control. He's going to save Christmas. And as comedy writer James Felton observed on Twitter, remember the death toll the last time Johnson saved Christmas? So what are Johnson's plans for HGV drivers and how are they shaping up? Well, the first, of course, was to focus on the number of potential drivers who couldn't sit their test due to the panic. You know, the pandemic. And you know, getting these guys qualified is that most wonderful of solutions as well. It's non-partisan. Everyone agrees that it would be brilliant if we had a whole queue of British residents taking up these vacant positions. Absolutely marvellous. I would still suggest that you need to consider the impact of throwing a huge number of inexperienced people into a job like this. People that have only just passed their test. Obviously, you always have people just passing their test, but in manageable numbers. Because like any other skills job, you pass your test, that's not it. Your skills build up over the course of your career. We're routinely told about all the tricky manoeuvres that lorry drivers have to perform when delivering, say, to supermarkets, including reversing. A skill that the government wished to remove from their tests altogether. But if we could do something about the 20,000 potential drivers whose testing was disrupted by the pandemic, brilliant. So how do we do that? Obviously, you need to be able to test more people per week than would be the case normally. I mean, that's obvious. You catch up by going faster. But a testing regime didn't have slack in it before the pandemic. You know, we didn't have examiners who had a very light, you know, oh, I'll do the morning today, you do the afternoon, you know, putting your feet up for half a day, just on the off chance that some emergency would occur, which means that at some point in the future, they'd need to ram through loads of tests in a very short period of time. So the government's plan is to just get examiners to do more examinations per day when they already do a lot. You know, just like they told lorry drivers, oh, the solution's obviously to get the existing lorry drivers to just drive more hours when they're already tired, more hours. I mean, not just stupid, but cruel, because if a tired driver causes a serious incident, it's them who goes to prison, not the transport minister who forced them to become exhausted. And what's more, I'm sure every lorry driver is conscious of this. And surely a policy like this is more likely to repel people from the profession than attract them to it. I mean, how do these government meetings even go now? We're desperately short of lorry drivers. I know, why don't we exhaust the few we have so that they leave the profession? No, they won't leave the profession. What are they going to do for money? They all need money. They're not getting paid enough to go out of work for a while. Well, you know, there's loads of other job shortages where the pay is about the same now and they don't have to knacker their health, risk going to prison, and they also get to see their friends and family every day. Did that conversation never take place? But anyway, examiners. So it seems examiners think that having to ram through tests quickly in order to fit more into the day, which is scheduled to begin the 11th of October next month, they think that might impact on the well-being of the examiners themselves, as well as compromise public safety. Fancy that. They feel that they are already pushing it as it is. The bottom line is that their main union, the Public and Commercial Services Union, balloted their members on action. Now, it had an 80% turnout, so a lot of members took the issue seriously, and 92% voted in favour of action, including strike action, if necessary. So no arguing about the majority there. 92% of 80% turnout is just shy of 74% of all members feeling that strongly. So that's a significant majority of everyone. So you would imagine that this puts a bit of a pause on the government's plans. After all, if examiners go on strike, the government won't be getting their 8 tests a day, will they? They'll be getting none. I imagine they'll be getting the Daily Express and others to attack the examiners as enemy of the people or spiteful remainers. But all that may do is just invite the public to see the arguments against endangering their lives. Like yesterday, very timely, I was driving into Scunthorpe yesterday and there was a big smash on the other side of the motorway. Not lorry related, somehow with dry roads and perfect visibility, 2 cars collided. You know, all I saw was one car upside down in perfect driving conditions and the other one having to be manhandled off the carriageway. But the point is, there were lorries there, a lot of them, going nowhere. Now, I don't know whether anyone was badly hurt there. What I do know is it was miles of tails back. That's a lot of lorries not delivering their loads. And this was a car. Imagine a lorry being unskillfully driven in an atmosphere of tight deadlines by someone who's only just started the job. Because the people entering the profession right now must be under huge pressure. They're part of an insufficient fleet and every second counts. It's like the government are trying to recreate scenes like the one I saw yesterday, but on a more serious scale. Not that the government are bothered. Like perhaps ministers don't even think there's much difference between a lorry and a car. Oh, it's got pedals and a wheel. Yeah, a bit higher up. It's bigger, of course. But it's the same basics. You know, they should get grant chaps to try and reverse one into a loading bay. Observers standing well back, of course. So the plan to ram through tests too quickly has hit a snag there. Their plan to offer only short-term visas I've already gone over. But, you know, just to emphasise what I've previously said, we're getting more and more reports of EU lorry drivers going on radio shows and explaining, look, there's no point in us coming to Britain. You know, in the EU, they get more respect, better pay, less paperwork, less hassle. You know, just driving around the EU is better on every level than coming to Britain. What's the advantage of coming to Britain? None. There are literally no advantages for them. So unless we find a few EU lorry drivers where maybe they're mad for fish and chips. I mean, I bet you can't get any decent fish and chips in France. So unless that is the case, we're not going to see those visas being snapped up by people living next to us. So that means further afield, which means drivers who are not familiar with the way our roads work or the laws that govern them. So you can't just get a driver from India, stick them in a cab and have them drive around Britain. They need to go through a test. So it takes time to get these drivers through the theory and practical tests necessary to drive on British roads. And here's the thing. They need to do that at the same time as we're trying to catch up on the domestic drivers we already have wanting to do their tests. And where the government are trying to ram the number of tests per day done, but the examiners are dead against it. And you know, even without that consideration, I'm told that it could take, 2 to 3 months to get this done. You get a driver from India, I've got a visa for you, no problem. Yeah, come over, we'll sort the paperwork out. You need to do these theory and practical tests. Probably take 2 or 3 months. 2 or 3 months. The visas last for 3 months. Do we see the problem here? Do we see the problem? The only other plan the government have is to make tests easier. Well, if they won't do more tests a day and, we can't get dry. So what we should do is just make the test shorter. Let's cut out all that nonsense like reversing. Classic case of Boris Johnson, isn't it? The consequences are obvious. He doesn't care about that. Look at his political career. He's been Mayor of London and he's now Prime Minister. In terms of a political career, that's stunning, isn't it? In terms of what he wanted to do, he's achieved it. But how did he achieve it? Did he carry out great works? Did he solve great problems? Did he deal with great crises? No, did nothing. Actually created crises, made things worse. But he convinced people that he was brilliant. All this mindless optimism. Oh, yeah. I mean, the problem is now got Labour going, oh, we need some mindless optimism as well. You know, all the cock-ups just happened to coincide with him being in charge. You know, they were all someone else's fault, apparently. So why wouldn't he pursue the same tactics? Johnson isn't interested in solutions, only persuading people that he has solutions. So he says something that makes sense to some people. And then when it goes wrong, it inevitably fails. He just blames someone else and comes up with his next solution. Well, I had this solution. It's brilliant, but they cocked it up. So now I'm so brilliant, I've come up with another solution. And it's ad infinitum. Goes on forever. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours on the comments below. If you found the video interesting, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.